quarter of a mile, and then was so overcome with the heat that I sat down in the burning wood on the floor of ashes. I continued to walk till we came to a ditch in a tract of salt marsh. I partially jumped and was partly hauled over, having declined the entreaties of several of the men to let them lie down and make a bridge with their bodies for me to walk over. At length we reached the skirt of that tremendous wood to my unspeakable relief, and came upon the white sand hillocks of the beach. The trees were all strained crooked from the constant influence of sea blast. The coast was a fearful-looking stretch of dismal, trackless sand. And the ocean lay boundless and awful beyond the wild and desolate beach. We drove at last down to the smooth sea sand, and Israel, not knowing the beach well, was afraid to drive round the mouth of it. And so it was determined that from this point we should walk home under his guidance. And so, having mightily desired to see the coast of Little St. Simon's Island, I did see it thoroughly, for I walked 1.5 miles around it, over beds of sharp shells, through swamps half knee-deep, my child stumping along with dogged heroism, and Israel carrying the baby. And so to Quash's house, where we arrived almost fainting with fatigue and heat, and where we rested but a short time, for we had to start almost immediately to save the tide home. Covered with mud literally up to my knees, I was obliged to lie down all the afternoon to rest. And now I will give you a curious illustration of the utter subserviency of slaves. It seems that by taking the tide in proper season and going by boat, all that horrible wood journey might have been avoided, and we could have reached the beach with perfect ease in half the time. But I had expressed a desire to go through the wood. The men underwent the labor and all the impediments we encountered rather than tell me that by waiting and taking another way I could get to the sea. I have no hope whatever that as long as one man once a planter and one man once a slave survives, that any successful cultivation of the southern estates will be achieved. Indeed, it seems to me most probable that, like other regions long cursed by the evil deeds of their inhabitants, the plantations will be gradually restored to the wild treasury of nature, and the land enjoy its Sabbaths as a wilderness peopled with snakes. Fanny would not again see Little St. Simon's. She would not see the way that upland cotton cultivation in the Piedmont would carve out enormous ravines, sending the topsoil from all across the great Altamaha watershed to its mouth. She would not see the cutting down of vast forests of longleaf pine and cypress, sending ever more sediment downstream to Darien and beyond. But if Fanny could look down now on her little sand heap of an island, she would see how it has grown. The speckled area on this map shows all the sediment deposited on Little St. Simon's from 1860 to 1974. Unlike the other large islands at the coast, Little St. Simon's is not losing the battle to sea level rise, but continues to grow seaward, the Altamaha rolling out the island like a welcome mat for the Atlantic. So Fanny would have even farther to walk these days, but I bet she'd ride in the pickup truck with me. And some things have stayed the same. The oaks which the butlers refused to cut for sailing ships still rear tall overhead, a shipwright's dream. And her description of that landscape of water and sky still ring true. Let me close with this. But then the sky, if no human chisel ever yet cut breath, neither did any human pen ever write light. If it did, mine should spread out before you the unspeakable glories of these southern heavens, the saffron brightness of morning, the blue intense brilliancy of noon, the golden splendor and the rosy softness of sunset. Heaven itself does not seem brighter or more beautiful to the imagination than these surpassing pageants of fiery rays and piled up beds of orange golden clouds with edges too bright to look on, scattered wreaths of faintest rosy bloom, amber streaks and pale green lakes between, and amid sky all mingled blue and rose tints, a spectacle to make one fall over the boat's side, with one's head broken off, with looking adoringly upwards. Thank you.